Please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, the choir, under the direction of Miss Lauren Schluter, will sing the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the Good morning, everyone. My name is Talon Page, Fisher Student Body President. Thank you for coming today to our Veterans Day celebration. It is an honor to be in the presence of so many veterans. We have planned a wonderful program for you, which will be followed by a reception where you'll have the opportunity to talk to other veterans. We hope you enjoy yourself today and that you accept this event as a thank you for all that you have done for our country. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our principal, Ms. Lisa Fraser.
Thank you, Talon. On behalf of the Fisher Middle School community, I'd like to personally welcome our honored guests this morning and sincerely thank you for your willingness to share your personal stories with our students. Veterans Day typically brings a tear and a lump in the throat to anyone who's had a loved one serve in the military. It's quite likely that any one of us has a parent, grandparent, sibling, friend, or neighbor who's a veteran or still serving. With nearly 22 million living veterans who have served in the United States Armed Forces, Veterans Day is a day not only to remember those who died in service to our country, but also to recognize those who continue to serve today. It's our opportunity to reflect on the sacrifice of America's warriors and spread the word about the real meaning of Veterans Day. It's not just a day off of work, it's a time to remember our American freedoms come at a cost. It's a chance to show our American pride by standing reverently during the Pledge of Allegiance, showing our veterans that they're respected and not forgotten. Today's event moves well beyond simply understanding the major events preceding the founding of our nation and relating the significance of these events to the development of American democracy. Instead, students in personal interviews have learned firsthand about the harsh realities of war and the incredible courage it takes to serve your country. By engaging our students in discussion about these crucial members of our society, our students have been able to hear from and about those who have helped shape American history. I also want to sincerely thank our history teachers for their efforts in making history come alive for our young people. Rest assured, these important lessons are not reserved for students alone. Every adult here today will walk away with a renewed appreciation for how universally blessed we are as Americans to live in a nation gifted with rights and freedoms envied throughout the world. JFK once said, quote, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." Speaking of walking the talk, I'd like to take a moment this morning to publicly recognize one of our former Fisher students, DJ Akers. His mom, Judy, is here in the audience with us today too, and we appreciate that. DJ is in the process of earning his Eagle Scout badge by honoring the flag on Veterans Day. He's doing this by retiring over 200 worn-out American flags donated by citizens in the Los Gatos community. By the way, only 4% of Boy Scouts ever reach Eagle Scout status. With the help of his Boy Scout troop, DJ spent 48 consecutive hours providing formal ceremonies for each flag retired. He was recognized by the Los Gatos Town Council on November 4th, and I am honored to present on behalf of the Los Gatos Veterans Memorial and Support Foundation a certificate of appreciation in DJ's honor. DJ, we're very, very proud of you. Congratulations. If you come up, I would love to give you a special recognition. Plus, he's just an amazing young man. He was when he was here, and he continues to be, that's obvious. Good job, DJ. Finally, we offer a heartfelt thanks to our invited veterans for sacrificing their personal aspirations and safety to protect our freedom. We admire your courage, your love of country, and your devotion to service, and we're so happy that you're here with us today. At this point, I would like to introduce Jenny Anderson. She's our phenomenal band director, and our band students who have practiced and will be performing the Armed Forces on Parade. Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. Veterans in the audience, we would encourage you, when you hear your branch of service, please stand proudly and be acknowledged. It is my honor to introduce our guest speaker today, Michael Pritchard. Michael Pritchard was in the U.S. Air Force Reserves from 1968 to 1973 during the Vietnam War. He was an air medical evacuation specialist. During his service, he transported many wounded soldiers to casualty staging units within Air Force bases. Mr. Pritchard's journey of caring for the wounded taught him to be compassionate and connected veterans' challenges emotionally as well as physically. As a young sergeant, he vowed to dedicate his life service to helping with military families along with others in need, even after his honorable discharge. Michael Pritchard began his career on both the comedy stage and as a juvenile counselor in San Francisco's Youth Guidance Center. In 1980, Michael Pritchard won first place in the San Francisco International Stand-Up Comedy Competition as well as winning the prestigious California Probation Officer of the Year award. Drawing from his counseling background, Michael began using humor to inspire, teach communication skills, anger management, diversity, conflict resolution, and overcoming burnout and stress. It sounds like a good combination. For his work in promoting nonviolence with youth, Michael Pritchard was awarded an honorary doctorate in humane letters from Hartwick University. He established Heartland Media Foundation, building character and emotional intelligence, violence prevention, instilling motivation and leadership in both youth and adults to improve schools and communities. He's a phenomenal guy. You're in for a treat. Thank you for your service, and thank you for joining us here today. Mr. Pritchard.
Good morning. It is my honor to be here this morning, the day before Veterans Day, to be with my sisters and brothers, and with your families and friends, and with the kids. Let's give the kids another round of applause. This is still very awesome. And that young Eagle Scout, we're so proud of you. Big round of applause. Thank you. We're Americans. I grew up in the Norman Rockwell America. Many of you will remember that. I had a dad, I love my pop. He was a World War II guy. He had one of those $4 haircuts. $1 for each corner. Well, you're laughing, but I can prove this. Watch this, kids. I'll show you something. Watch all the parents here. They can fill in the blanks from our World War II fathers and brothers and uncles. Here we go. As long as you live under, you'll do as I say, or you can. Yeah. You want something to cry about? If everybody else jumped off the bridge. You remember this one, folks? You want me to turn this car around right now? You want to walk home from here? My dad and all my uncles, 7, served in World War II. They were remarkable. See, a lot of folks like TV stars and sports stars, but my heroes lived in my neighborhood and were my relatives. They raised me to believe in the America that we live in now. And why it's so important for us to talk about today, 8th graders, is that we're going to talk about something that's powerful and important. It's hard for us to tell you all how much we love you. When my first son was born, I used to wait up every night for his every breath. You know how babies cry. And then you hear that one go, and my wife would go, get it! He's choking! And I'm like, whoa! And the baby's going, ha 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 ha! Take me to my mother, Chubby. The more kids I had, the less afraid I got. Because fear is the little dark room where negatives are developed. That'll hit you later. That first kid, you're like, don't put that in your mouth. Give me that ick, bleh. Second kid, don't eat that icky, bleh. Third kid, tastes good. You're on your fourth, go ahead, eat it. Did I get any better bit of Dad? No, I just realized, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not get bent out of shape. We learn as we go along. All of you go through early childhood development. Like when you're 5. What's the difference between a 5-year-old and a small puppy? After a while, the puppy stops whining. And then you're 8, and a bird could land on your lip the whole year. They're not the boss of me. And they're putting in line. And then you're in middle school going, whatever. Talk to the pumpkin at the bun lizard, owner, wannabe, whatever, no dash shadow, but it thinks I read on my space up. I know some of you Marines will understand how wise this was. When I had a kid on probation, I go, well, you gotta go in there, and he goes, I'm tired of everybody telling me what to do. I'm gonna join the Marine Corps. Oh yeah, nobody will tell you what to do there. Would you like breakfast in bed, Private? I like high school girls and middle school girls on the phone. I couldn't believe it. She was like texting, all these texting. I had high school and middle school boys on the phone. Oh, tight. Oh, sick. Hey. Who is this? Now, no generation of young people, they're totally plugged in and completely disconnected at times. And for our generation, growing up, we want to remind them of the American heart. There's a great teacher by the name of Helen Keller. They said, "Oh, Miss Keller, it must be hard for you to be blind." And she said, "Well, it would be if I had no vision." We see with our hearts. We want all of you young people to see with your hearts and to know that the bullying, the teasing is totally un-American. It is not of us. It is not who we are nor what we represent. Not even on the web, not even in the words. We teach America because we practice it. Because as veterans we learned the unity of community, the love of country, and the respect for the flag, and kindness and goodness, and all things grateful. So what do we know? This is really important. I had a little kid, he was like 9. I said, "Hey, who here has a responsibility at home?" And he goes, "Mr. Mike, I got a responsibility that when my dad gets drunk and he beats on my mom, that I take my baby brother and I have to hide the baby in the closet because he hurt him before." I said, "Tay, honey, I just sat down, buddy. I don't know if I was ready for all that, but you needed to get that out right away, didn't you?" "Yes, sir." I said, "Why do you think you needed to tell me that, Taylor?" "Mr. Mike, everybody needs to meet a kind stranger to tell their secrets to so they get help. Here's what we need to know. Not just at Pearl Harbor, but on 9/11 there was millionaires and billionaires at the top of the World Trade Center waiting to be rescued by working class people. Cops, paramedics, firefighters, nurses from OES. This is the American spirit. Going up the steps, people who knew that they'd give their life to save and rescue others. Coming down the steps, some of the wealthiest people in the world, relying on their largesse and courage. And they will make no mistake about it. They're all Americans. But here's what we need to know. On that day, they teach us something. And I worked with the kids whose moms and dads were lost that day. And I asked them, "What do you most want me to tell America's families?" And this is what they asked me to say to you and everyone. The little boy you're picking on or teasing and making fun of is someday going to be the paramedic that comes over to your house and lifts your infant son up out of the bathtub, gives him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and saves his life. We're a community. The little girl you've laughed at since 2nd grade because she can't read well, and she's working on English as a second language, will be the nurse that sits up all night long with your mom in the hospital taking care of her after a car accident. We're a community. The boy you call crybaby and sissy and homo and faggot and you tease him incessantly, he doesn't even want to come to school, he puts his earphones in. Someday he'll be the emergency room physician who saves a member of your family, and you'll remember who he was, and that you could have stood up for him, and you should have, but you were afraid then that maybe teasers or bullies would have made you the target. And you didn't know that teasers and bullies don't have real friends. They have fearful followers. You learned that in the military. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "It's not the bullies that hurt us the most. It's our best friends and classmates that stand idly by and silent witness when we're abused and say nothing to defend us that hurt us the most." We're a unity, a community. There's a girl that goes to school with us. She's got a mom at home with breast cancer. She is the mom at her home, taking care of her brothers and sisters, packing their lunches, getting their homework done. When she comes to school, kids leave her isolated. They don't know her pain. If they ever did get to know her heart and reach out to her, one day they may hang a $100,000 piece of her artwork on their wall at home, because nobody can paint like her. We're a community. That's what we're all about. We have to live that, talk that, learn that, be it. And then in that unity, we find that strength, that courage to stand up for everyone and ourselves, and to be unafraid. And who then best to teach us? Those vulnerable souls around us. And kids are great teachers. They're really great. I like little kindergartners. They make me laugh. I said, what'd you learn today by what I said?
Don't let their bad day be your bad day, or your bad day be their bad day. Don't play angry tag with people.
I said, can you come to Washington, D.C. with me? Another little 5-year-old, what'd you learn today?
Don't let your sad turn to mad, because then it all gets bad.
And funny, too. They'll blurt anything. Hey, boys and girls, who takes care of the plants and flowers because they need fresh air, sunshine, and love?
No. Who just said no? I did, because my dad grows trees in his closet.
You couldn't write that. You couldn't make that up. But then in a heartbeat, ask a kid. Ask a kid. Because they'll teach us about how we self-isolate. We need to help each other. I'm a 14-year-old kid. And this is the America I lived in and grew up in. I said, can you describe your depression? And there's not a veteran in the room that hasn't dealt with the isolation, the sadness, the hurt. I said, can you describe your depression? And a 14-year-old boy goes, Mr. Mike, you know what? Depression's like when you're encapsulated in a large glass globe and you can't reach out and touch anyone, and no one can reach in and touch you. And unless your heart and spirit shatter that globe from the inside, or you allow a family member or friend to shatter it from the outside, you could remain entombed, unable to touch, unable to feel, but going through life pressed up against that glass. None. You know what I mean, sir? In my work with young veterans now, we're bringing them home. Robert Frost said, home is that place you go where they have to let you in. Some of you aren't laughing hard enough, folks. Things happen. And for you young people to understand the America that we need for you to lead, it's to look in your heart, cease the bullying, step up and be defenders and protectors as we have, as generation after generation of Americans. This is what frustrates us most, to see bullying going on in our nation while our troops are overseas stopping it. This isn't political. I don't get political. I get real. Because I know normal is just a setting on a dryer. That'll hit you later. Fair is where you get cotton candy. And life isn't logical. If it was logical, men would ride side saddle. That'll hit you right now. We learn. Be a defender of others who are vulnerable. I love special needs kids and learning different kids. I had a little kid who was dyslexic. He goes, what a lesson for us veterans. He goes, hey, Mr. Mike,
Did you know that the words silent and listen have the same letters?
I go, wow, L-I-S-T-E-N-S-I-L-E-N-T, silent. Wow, how'd you know that?
Man, I misspell a lot. Everybody calls me stupid, but I'm smart in another way. They call me that because I'm lidesic.
He goes, hey, Mr. P, did you know secure and rescue have the same letters? And did you know that heart and earth have the same letters?
And did you know that earth without art is just eh?
Wow. I was a learning different kid. When I was a kid growing up, I got teased a lot. I know this is hard for some of you to believe. A comedian with attention deficit disorder hyperactivity. Can you imagine that? Robin Williams, Jack Black, Jim Carrey, any of us, Eddie Murphy. See, I have a little kid, I'm on the board of directors of the Giants, a little kid goes,
Hey, Mr. Pritchard, you know what ADD is? I have it. I go, Steve, I know what ADD is. Hey, you know how many ADD people it takes to screw in a light bulb? Know how many? Hey, want to go to a Giants game?
But see, as the Marine Corps would teach you, that you improvise, you adapt, and you overcome. Don't allow someone else to define you or your friends. Be a person who stands up for others. That way I wound up being able to go to Skywalker Ranch for George Lucas and do this.
Fear is the path to the dark side.
Can you imagine that I had ADD? But here's the history lesson. There's genius all around us that we should learn to love and respect and honor and encourage. There was a young man tossed out of school. It's from a book called The Edison Gene. Important for us to know the beginning of America and its patriotic fervor. Young man tossed out of school at the age of 10, never had another formal day of education. And in his hometown, he created the first philosophical society, the first debating society, the first National Guard, the first fire department, the first lightning rods, the first stoves, the first eyewear. He created the first banking system, first postal system. His name was Benjamin Franklin. Had he been born now, he might have been bullied, teased, cyberbullied, made fun of, laughed at, ridiculed, and been hurt, been emotionally unable to carry on. And America wouldn't be what it is, and the Queen would have been recently visiting her colonies. Freedom begins in our heart, as the defenders in this room. And for you World War II vets, my pop was one of them. Love him and miss him every day. Stephen Ambrose said,
When it came to World War II, we sent our best. They did their best, and the world was saved from evil. Miss my pop.
all he had for a role model was John Wayne, though. Who doesn't love the Duke? The greatest line ever delivered on education was delivered by John Wayne in the movie Sands of Iwo Jima. Duke looked at one of his young Marine recruits and he said,
Life is tough, but it's a lot tougher when you're stupid.
greatest line ever delivered on education. But picture Duke now, 2014.
We're going to take the Hill Marines, but before we do, my inner Marine has something to share. I was watching Oprah the other day, and I think I have codependency issues with some in my foot.
Well, you get the drift. Here's the drift. We're all in this together. Who teaches us that the best? The most vulnerable hearts. I offered this day today to my beloved friend Robin Williams, who spent 5 tours overseas, and to my good friend Sergeant Scott Parkhurst. He and I were the medics for Robin and the close friends, and we took care of him. We lifted his heart as much as we could. And Scott is here today as well. And what did he teach us? That the vulnerable are needed. So let me tell you the story when I think about how much I love special kids and their hearts and defending them. Because I know that the kids hear this all the time.
That's retarded. You're retarded. Shut up. Oh my God, you're very retarded.
Let me tell you what special needs kids taught me. This is from a movie called The Happy Movie. I was a coach at Special Olympics. I don't know if you've ever seen, I love the way special kids teach. I was playing aggravation, a little marble and dice game with 3 Down syndrome kids. I go, wait, you can't play without the dice. Where's the dice? And one of them goes, Mike, we'll pretend we have a dice. I get a 5. He needed a 6. I said, Jer, I'm not a cheater, Mike. But then the heart, the loving heart, teaches America why the veterans do what they do to protect vulnerable, why we stand as one today and every Veterans Day. At Special Olympics, boom, the gun goes off and this beautiful young girl takes off running. You ever seen a kid run and laugh? She's going, yes! Ah! Woo! She gets all the way down to the finish line, 40 yards in front of everybody. She stops. And I was her coach. I said, no, Annie, come here. You win the gold medal. No, coach. What the hell? I said, no, Annie, come here. You win the gold medal. Come here. You win. You're in first. No, coach. You said the best ship to sail on is friendship. And she turned around and she put her hand out for her friend, who turned and put her hand out for her friend. And then all 6 kids held hands and came across the finish line together. And she goes, woo! Together, we all can win. Together, we all Henry, this is the America we need. Working with the young combat vet, I leave you with this. At Yountville, with PTSD, when he spoke at graduation, this is what he said. For any of you who have moms or dads who are combat veterans, tender around their hearts, encouraging, respectful and kind, lifting, loving, nurturing. And that goes for the rest of us in community too. And this is why we're gathered here today. This young man who was a West Point graduate who wound up homeless. It's why we ask you to join us in helping our veterans through respect. He had 2 tours and he had graduated from West Point in the Rangers. He was a tough kid. And he goes, combat veterans are a lot like feral cats after a thunderstorm. They'll hide out in trellises and pipes and under bridges and maybe in dumpsters and maybe in garbage cans, thinking nobody would understand them. Nobody would help them. Nobody would lift them. But if the America I serve is wise enough, they'll lay out a saucer of milk for all of us, and we will come home. This is what we ask all of you today. Help the veterans. Help your fellow veterans. Lift out. Don't self-isolate. Be involved. Now I'm up here sweating like John Stewart at Dick Cheney's hunting lodge. And I leave this for all my veterans. It is a quote that I give the troops returning. And I apologize that I am in a public school and I'm talking spiritually. Please be tolerant. I would give my life for you to believe as you do. But I have to have somebody to talk to during earthquakes, tornadoes, and my children's sporting events. There is a river of gladness that runs through the city of the Most Holy. He is within it, and it will not fall. He will save it at the break of dawn. Nations and kingdoms will top. Despots and tyrants will fall. When he lifts his voice, the earth melts away. Come and look at all the desolation he puts forth on earth. But he ends wars to the ends of the earth. He shatters the bow. He splinters the spear. He burns the shield with fire. Be still. Feel that presence. The Lord of all the host of angels is with us. God bless America. God bless your veterans. God bless your family members and your kids. Teach them well those noble things that we learned about sacrifice and service. And may we spend our Veterans Day in the peace that others have helped sacrifice for. Thank you. God bless
Thank you, Michael. Wow. Very well done. Thank you. Memorial Day honors those men and women that have given their lives in defense of our country. While Veterans Day is a tribute to America's living veterans, it's appropriate to take time to honor these men and women now. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor America's fallen men and women. We are very fortunate to have 2 wonderful Fisher grads, Lila Sate and Robbie Storton, for the first time, students that will be playing taps for us today. I'd like to call them forward and thank you. Thank you. Our 8th grade students interviewed over 400 veterans. The project included a photo and a quote from the interview, and we'd like to share just a few of these photos and quotes this morning before we retire the colors.
The more experiences you have, the better of a person you will be in the future. Sergeant Gordon Anderson, Jr., United States Air Force.
I have a lot of respect for human life now because you see how fragile it is when you get in a war and how easy it is to be alive 1 minute and dead the next. Sergeant Bill Dunn, United States Army.
Everyone should serve their country in some way. Lance Corporal Don Jerome, United States Marine Corps.
If we hadn't been completely devoted to doing the job and protecting each other, we would have never made it. Full Colonel Jerry Oberhelman, United States Air Force.
Integrity is the fundamental premise of military service in a free society. Lieutenant Colonel Wayne Floyd, United States Air Force.
The military provides an experience that just cannot be duplicated and will never be matched. Lieutenant Ted Molnar, United States Navy.
The common thing that falls under everybody's belt bridges you more than the difference there is between you. Major Mark Bowman, United States Army and Air Force.
I learned a sense of commitment to people close to me as well as my country. Corporal Matt Morrison, United States Marine Corps.
Deploying to Afghanistan was something I was most proud of. I felt like I helped my country and was proud to serve my country. Major Marileo Mara, Alaska Air National Guard.
I was impressed with the quality of the training I had and the quality of the people that I served with. Captain Paige Murray, Jr., United States Air Force.
When you put people together from everywhere, the differences are a shock, but when it gets down to it, we're all just people. Sergeant Robert Buschini, United States Army.
It is only through the passage of time that I've gained the perspective how fortunate I was to serve my country, because then, now, and forever, I will always be known as a Marine. Corporal Juan Hernandez, United States Marine Corps.
Please rise as we retire the colors.
Retire the colors. And salute. And salute. Please.
This concludes the formal portion of our celebration. Thank you for honoring us with your attendance. I guess the best way to close the celebration is what Michael said. This is a community. It's a community I love, and it's a wonderful place to work and serve. And I thank you, each and every one of you, for taking this moment out of your morning to be here with us. And most especially, thank you to the students for taking this project very seriously and your education seriously. It matters. So listen to what you heard here today and put that into action in your life, and I suspect that life's going to be good. So thank you to our veterans. At this point, I'm going to give you a head start and welcome you to our reception, and thank you for your dedicated service. As our veterans exit, our band will play Stars and Stripes Forever.